Hi, I am Tara Bentley, and I'm the Executive Director for the Indiana Association of Home Educators, otherwise known as the IAHE.
Hi, I'm Cindy Briggs. I'm a homeschool mom and a volunteer with IAHE.
We're here bringing you this podcast to share with you a lot of great information about homeschooling here in Indiana. This will be a place to learn about homeschooling, find the support you need, all in the Hoosier State.
Each week, we're going to focus on a different topic in the homeschool world. We'll bring you special guests and information that's going to help you on your homeschool journey. So let's get started. Well, hello, everyone. And again, welcome back to the Indiana Homeschool Podcast, or welcome if this is the first time that you have joined us. So happy to have you. So this is Cindy, and today it's just me because if you were listening at the last episode, you know that Tara was off at a conference. And so it's just me today, but I'm super excited to be with you. And what I am going to talk to you about today is something really near and dear to my heart. It is actually something that I even presented on at our conference this year, but I thought I would dig into it even a little bit more for all of the listeners or for people who maybe couldn't come to conference. And we're going to talk about why. And you're probably thinking, what? Like, I don't even know where you're going with this. Well, I'm not sure that I've ever mentioned this before as we've talked in all of our episodes, but I am a former full-time business professor. I've taught entrepreneurship and business and still do some business coaching on the side, but and still do it part-time, still teach entrepreneurship classes part-time. And one of the things that I talk about all of the time when somebody comes to me and says they want to start a business or they want to start a nonprofit, or even if a friend says, you know, I'm thinking about joining this club or this activity, my question to them is always why. And sometimes I will get looks like, well, what do you mean why? Like, I just want to do this. And I laugh and I say, okay, but let's dig deeper, like the why of why you're doing it. Now, is this my original thought? No, I am a huge fan of Simon Sinek. And if you've not read his books or listened to his podcast or checked out his website, I will put that in the show notes so you know where to find him. But when Simon Sinek came out kind of with this whole idea of diving deep into it, I really, really went with this idea because I think it's just that idea of kind of mixing psychology and business and just all of the things when we start thinking about why is it that we are wanting to do something. So when somebody says, you know, I want to start a business, and I'm like, why? Let's develop this. And what it really almost becomes is a mission statement in a way. Now, it's not necessarily the mission statement for what you're doing with this business, but it's a mission statement of kind of why you're doing it. Like, what is the motivation there? And sometimes when things get hard, as they do in business and in homeschooling and in life, when things get hard, we need that anchor. We need that thing that we can go back to and we can look at it and go, well, this is why we were doing this. This is why I wanted to do this. So what does this have to do with homeschooling? I mean, you know, if you're listening, you might be like, well, you know, I just want to homeschool. We know it's best for our kids, but I'm still going to push you. So don't turn the off button, you know, don't hit the off button and say, well, I don't need this because we're already homeschoolers, or we've been doing this for years, or we, you know, are just starting to think about this. This episode is going to be for everyone. So I don't want you to tune me out because I want you to think, because unless you can right now say, yes, I have a clearly developed written why that my family, we all are in agreement with, then keep listening and let's talk about this some more, because let's talk about this idea of why in the context of homeschooling. Why do we do this? Well, there are a million different reasons. I think so often people will just assume quickly that maybe it's a faith reason. Well, maybe it is. And that's a perfectly great reason. Maybe it's the school district you live in. Maybe you were homeschooled. Maybe, you just don't trust the curriculum that's being taught out there. There's so many reasons why, but we really need to kind of have that clear purpose for our family, for our situation of why is it that we're wanting to do it? Because as we always talk about at IAHE, we are a Christian organization, but we serve everyone. So maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, that's not my reason. The faith part isn't my reason of why I'm doing it. And that's okay. But having this clear purpose of guiding our direction and guiding and knowing deep down why are we doing this? Because I think I've mentioned this before, maybe in past episodes. I don't know. Our episodes, I love our episodes, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I've said this before. I was not homeschooled. My husband was not homeschooled. So we were not a traditional, I guess, homeschooling family that did this and planned on doing it with our children. Never really crossed our mind. My husband was through a public school his whole life, and I did private school my whole life. And even when we first started talking about children, there was never the idea of maybe we will, like maybe that would be a thing. We were just, as so many people do, looking where we would move to make sure that it was in a good school district, that we were going to be, that we either had the Christian options or a really good public school option. And so we never developed like this purpose or this idea of this. But it was something that kind of kept nagging at me mostly. I don't know, it hit me somewhere along the way of when we're sending our children off. I think it's when we were sending our children even to preschool. And you're thinking, I'm sending my just baby out at 2 or 3. And it just seemed weird to me, but I didn't want to say anything to anybody because I thought, well, this is what you do. Like, this is part of what you do. Because I think so often that is what we are convinced of, that this is what we're supposed to do. And so my motivation really didn't start until we actually were looking at a private school where we lived in Texas, and it was a university model. And it was where they went to school a couple of days and then you homeschooled a couple of days. But they gave you everything. But this was my first, I guess, forte even into thinking about it. But it was just, again, like, okay, yeah, this is what we do. And I like doing it. But then we moved again, and it was, all bets were off. And it was kind of like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Then in a different state, my why changed because we were in a state where the faith difference was way, way different. The public schools really leaned into this specific faith of the state we were in. And I thought, I could homeschool them, and I pulled them out, but it was just, again, for a short time, thinking, I knew we were going to move again. That's another podcast episode for another time, but we moved several times in like, I don't know, 5 years. And so I thought, well, I will do it till we move again. I will just finish out the school year homeschooling. But obviously it was in there. It was just kind of, in my gut, thinking, I think I could do this, and I think I want to do this. And so it was just one of these things that kind of kept coming up. But even as a business professor, even as somebody who was teaching people to develop their why, we still had not developed our why for why we were doing this. Now, let's just I'm going to go off a little trail here and just say, what are some of the common reasons? Because maybe you're like, well, I don't really even know. I'm not sure my why. Well, maybe it's academic reasons. Maybe your child is, more advanced or struggles a little bit, or the curriculum isn't what you would want. Whatever that might be for academic reasons, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just for personalized learning pace and style. I really, especially with our son, started trying to have, I think boys so often are just dubbed that they can't sit still, but I don't know that little boys can sit in a desk for 8 hours a day. I just, again, maybe that's personal opinion, but, maybe it's just that personalized learning style of, I want them to go play. I want them to get up and run around. I don't want it to be just a prescribed sitting at a desk. Maybe it's something for specific curriculum preferences. Maybe there's something like your child is, really gifted in art or science or math. You've heard me tell story. I know this. You've heard me tell story upon story about how our son is very into acting. And so we're able to kind of work our curriculum around that preference of what he loves. Maybe it's a safe learning environment. Maybe you just know that it's going to be safer in your home, or you want to have closer family bonds. Maybe that's it. You just want to have more time with your children, with your family, that you can do those connections. Maybe it's a lifestyle reason. I'm giving you all kinds of reasons. So hopefully, like, you're thinking through and maybe one's hit you and you're like, yes, that is it. But maybe it's lifestyle reasons or flexibility in that schedule. Maybe you travel. I love talking to homeschool families who travel year round, who, are in RVs and can do that. I think that is so awesome. So, and maybe the last one is you just want to align your children's education with your family values and beliefs. Maybe that's your reason. And okay, so I've given you reasons. Does that define the why? Well, you can take those reasons, like, again, go through these and go, okay, yeah, she said a couple of them, maybe it was the academic and the flexibility. Take those two and then, write those down and then say, okay, well, those are some reasons. But then let's talk about kind of more that why. How do you develop this? Like, we talk about it, and this is always the part that I think I have fun with. I love talking to people in groups. Again, when I did this at the conference and I could kind of talk through it all, although I didn't get to, if you remember the episode where we said I fell and broke my hand, I wasn't getting to write it all down like I normally do. But this is where you write your reasons down. So write some reasons on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, whatever you need to do, and involve your whole family. This is not just for the mom or the dad or, the couple. Involve everyone. If your kids are little, I understand, maybe they won't have a lot to participate in, but let them have this time. And then just say, okay, so let's look at our reasons, and then let's just talk about like all the things with those reasons that we love. Like, for example, if you're saying it's an academic reason, we can choose different grade levels. We can choose different curriculum. We can involve, household things that we're doing, whatever that might be. Link some more details, I guess, to those reasons. Link some details. So you're going to just write these out. You're going to kind of be, making sure that it aligns with your family. Now, this isn't, and it can be that I get a little, when I say this, I don't want to confuse people. This can be a little bit dreaming, but not too much dreaming. So if you are not traveling all the time now, don't make that so much part of your why statement that it doesn't ring true to what's happening now. So if you're listening to this and maybe you're just preparing, I'm recording this in the summer, and maybe you're thinking about, maybe you've made the decision you want to do it, and you found us and you're listening, and now you're like, okay, I'm going to develop my why statement. And I am going to share with you ours, in a few minutes, but you want to sit down and you want to make sure that it's not just so pie in the sky, that it's not what you're actually doing. Because if I would love to travel full time, it is not something we can do right now. So I don't have that as part of our why, because I would feel like a failure if every time I went and looked at my why statement and it's like, well, we're not doing that. We're not living into that. Again, go back to thinking of it as a mission statement for your homeschool. And so sit down, brainstorm, come up with all the different reasons, all the different reasons and all the different like details on those reasons. And then write it all down. Just put it all out there and see what you think. Sit on this. This does not have to be done in one session. It took us probably a good month of kind of coming back to our why several times to just craft the one that was working for us now. If you can, take time, reflect on those values, beliefs, and goals as a family. Like, what is it that we are wanting? There's great things out there about even developing kind of your purpose and your mission statement as a family. And this goes along with it. Then, if you can, if you have other homeschool friends or connections, you can connect with them and kind of get your idea of just find those uplifting stories that sort of help you. What I don't want this to do is become an exercise that stresses anyone or scares you or thinks, if you're already thinking, I'm already overwhelmed, and if I have to develop a why, it's going to send me over the edge. Don't let it do that. This is supposed to just be kind of those. I was explaining to a family one time, I said, when you go bowling and you put the bumpers up on the bowling alley for people who, need a little help. I love when the bumpers are up, when my kid, when they forget to come down when we're bowling. But for the kids, those bumpers are up, and it gives you just this frame, this space of this is where we're going to live in, and we're not going to go outside of those bumpers. And that's really what you're doing. And so this is just that idea of it's your expression of what you're doing. And then you can infuse it into your daily life or into your homeschool life. So okay, now come up with like your benefits. What do you see as the benefits out of your homeschooling? That's going to be kind of the looking at the end, looking at your purpose, and then going backwards with it. I may have mentioned this, I'm not sure, but I have a friend who used to do conferences, and I loved her conferences. And one of her things she always talked about was, where do you want to be when you're 80? And, some are closer than others right now, but where do you want to be when you're 80? And then she would say, what are you doing today that is getting you to that spot when you're 80? And that always hit me. It just hit me like right upside the head, because so often I'm thinking, wow, I don't know that I'm doing the things that I want to be doing when I'm 80. I'm kind of chasing all this busy and putting a bunch of stuff in that is just not necessary. And when I thought about where do I want to be when I'm 80, then I thought, okay, how do I get there? And I backed up, and then that became my action steps. Do the same thing here. What do you see? Like, what would be the end goal of you homeschooling? Let's say homeschooling all the way through 12th grade. What does that end goal look like? Deeper family connections, more critical thinking out of your children, and then go, okay, what are we doing now? So that's your why. Your why is you're trying to get to that point. Now, maybe you have kids that are in kindergarten and you're thinking, oh my gosh, Cindy, that's 12 years away. But yes, it's giving you those bumper sides, those bumper pads of where you want to be. So write that down. So you've got lots of scribbled notes now. You've got kind of those reasons that we talked about. You were like, okay, it's academic and it's a safe learning environment. I'm just picking ones kind of off the top of my head. You can have more than two. Then you've looked ahead and you're like, this is what I want it to look like when my child finishes our homeschooling. Like, this is what I want it to look like. We've looked at our values, our beliefs. We've looked at our motivations for doing this. All of this is going to come down to your why. You're just now going to make it, when I say pretty, that's probably not the right word, make it flow better, I guess is what we want to say. We want to make it flow better so that it's something you can have. Okay, so I've been saying all of this and I've been telling you how to do this. And what we're wanting to do is just encapsulate like the essence of our why in a succinct and powerful manner. That's what we're trying to do. It's guiding our actions. It's helping us make decisions. When I finally figured out our why, when I wrote it down and I realized all the times I was stressing over curriculum or, did I have the right space in my house to be doing this? I realized none of that was in my why. None of that was important at the end of the day. So, okay, let me just share with you because you're like, I feel like I'm building up to suspense here. And let me tell you this, my why is not going to be your why. You may listen to mine and go, Nothing in that resonated with me. That's okay. It doesn't have to. I'm just giving you an example of what ours is right now. Will we revisit? Maybe. We like every year we kind of look at it. I keep this in the front of my homeschool planner. I have it written in there just so I can flip back to it. Everybody knows where it is in our family to go be able to look at it. Okay, so what is ours? Ours is, and remember, I love to write, so like it probably got more wordy than it needed. But our mission, our why, is empowering our children to become compassionate, critical thinkers and lifelong learners. Our homeschool journey is guided by a commitment to fostering curiosity, creativity, and character. Rooted in love, respect, and empathy, we strive to cultivate an inclusive learning environment where each child's unique strengths and passions are celebrated and nurtured. Through experiential learning, meaningful connections, and a values-based approach, we aim to equip our children with the knowledge, skills, and values they need to thrive in a rapidly changing world while embracing the joy of discovery and the beauty of lifelong learning. That's our why. So let me break that apart for a little bit and kind of tell you, like, if you can pick the pieces out, you can hear what I was saying about reasons a little bit ago. So we want the big thing we want out of our children is we want compassionate children. We want children who care about other people. We want them to understand that it's a great big world and they need to understand how to love and care for others. So we do that. We make sure that in our homeschool journey, we do service projects. We make sure that we're helping at the church when we can. We just make sure that we are loving others well. We also want our children to be critical thinkers. My husband and I have always been big on this in that we want them to question. We want them to investigate. We want them to think kind of deeply about things and not just go with, the status quo. Sometimes we would come to regret that, when we get lots of questions, but overall, we like that because it's like, I want them to critically think about the world around them. And I want them to be lifelong learners. I want them to always want to learn. That is something my husband and I definitely do. I mean, we both have advanced education. I think I've joked before that my hobby before I got married was just getting degrees. And so I just love to learn. I'm always taking little classes, little online training. If there's something new to learn, I want to learn it. And I want my children to be the same way. I want them to constantly want to learn more. I don't want school to be a bad word. I don't want learning to be a bad word. I want it to be something where, when Jackson and I are talking and we're driving in the car and he says, I wonder why this, and this. And I'm like, you know what? That is a great point. And I don't know the answer to that. We should go investigate. You should go investigate that. Let's look it up. Let's see if we can find some information on it, whatever it might be, because they're finding things that interest them. It's not always things that interest us, and that's okay. But it's like, let's go find out more. I want them to do that for life. Think about now as adults. I mean, when we want to learn something new, how do we do that? We investigate. We dig. We go online. We find books. We do all that. We ask people. And so I definitely want those things. Those are just so important to us that was right there in the front of our why. Because do I think that could happen other places? Maybe. Do I feel like we are best equipped to do that? Absolutely. I absolutely do, because it goes back to, again, the last part of the statement where we said, that we want them to be part of our values and our beliefs. And we think that's important. And so as parents, we think that is something we can do. So yes, that is our why. It has been that way, I would say, let's see, probably for about 2.5 years, I think we developed that why. Didn't have one my first year. So if it is your first year, please let me just tell you, getting through your first year, just get through your first year. It's fine. You don't have to worry about this. But I would encourage you to, even if you can't develop this big why, and I get that, if you can't do that right this minute, just come up with a couple of purpose, a couple of things, because like I said, I was so concerned that first year of, did I pick the right curriculum? Did you hear in my why? There is nothing about choosing the perfect curriculum. That's not the most important thing. My why does not include, I want to make sure that we are, learning 8 hours a day. No, not the most important thing. So I would encourage you to, whatever planner you're going to use, however you're going to, list out what you're going to do or what you're going to accomplish, at least write a sentence. We are homeschooling this year to spend more time with our children, to pour into our children, love and knowledge, and just make it super simple so that it is something that, again, said this at the beginning, you will have a hard day. You will have a hard day. And you will at some point go, why are we doing this? How do I know this? Because all the moms I talk to, all the dads I talk to, like all homeschooling families, I've never heard a homeschooling family that has ever said every day was perfect. It was like a dream. We never had a problem. I've never heard that. Maybe there's somebody out there, but I haven't heard it. More often than not, I will hear people say, friends will call or text and they're like, why are we doing this again? And when they send that to me, what do you think I say? I'm like, hey, go back and check your why. Go back and see what it was that drove you to do this in the first place. So if you're 5 years down the road and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Go back and read this. Because even just now, as I read mine to you, I was like, oh yeah, like, I haven't read it in a couple months. I have to say, I haven't read it since kind of we finished up, the year. We do some summer stuff, but I don't really go into my planner much over the summer. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, that's right. That's right. That's the thing. Like it hit me again that I said experiential learning. Like I want to be experiences. I want to be out doing things. It doesn't have to be sitting in our house. We can go on more field trips, do more things. And it reminds me because I think towards the end of the year last year, I had forgotten that part. So I am reminding myself of my why as we do this. All right. So I know I've like dumped a lot on y'all, and I hope I've helped you just kind of think about the reason why you want to do this, why you want to develop your why. The hustle and bustle of homeschooling can just get away from us. And I think reflecting on these foundational things of homeschooling really will help us. Like I said, as I tell my business clients, having that why that then turns into your mission statement will keep you on track, and it will make sure that you are not going way off base. It will bring you back kind of to the what matters the most, the what do you want it to look like when they graduate? What do we want to be when, what do we want it to look like when we're 80? That whole concept. So I hope that it has given you kind of just inspiration to sit down and think of doing this. And summer's a great time to do it, y'all. This is a super time to sit down and kind of come up with that. I am also going to make sure in the show notes, I'm going to link to a questionnaire that I developed that will help you reflect on these, and just it's a tool to just help you kind of develop that. I know I went through several of the points kind of quickly, but I want to make sure that I have this file in there so that you're able to sit down and kind of revisit this and come up with your family and do it. Like I said, involve those kiddos and let them know. Okay, the thing I wanted to end with today is, remember, Tara and I are going to take a little time off at the end of June. So if you're finding this in the middle of summer, we are coming back. But we still would love to hear from you all. We would love to hear topics that you want us to cover. We have had some amazing guests on this show since we launched it back like the end of January. But we would love to know more. Like, who would you like to hear from? What are topics that you would like? Would you like us to, again, dive deep more into things like today, like kind of, coming up with things that will help you in your specific situation? Let us know. You can leave us a message. If you go, I will put the link in the show notes where you can go actually record a message to both of us, and we will get that. And we just absolutely love hearing from all of you. So please let us know that what we can do to help your homeschooling journey, because that is what we are here for at IAHE, is to help you in this and to walk along beside you and just to help you remember that you're never alone in this journey. So thanks so much for listening today, and we look forward to being back again soon. So you guys take care, have a great day, and God bless to all of you.